What is up? Notebook Wagering is back. We got a threesome today. Matty Nails, he's not with us. He's dealing with some home stuff, so we all wish him the best. Hopefully he gets some good news. Maybe he'll jump in for a minute, kind of clear his mind and things like that. But we're all praying for the four-legged guy there, Matt. Hopefully you're tuning in with us at least. I got Smitty in studio. I got Jason repping Pittsburgh, staying loyal up there. First off, we are in the Salisbury Center, sponsored by, or fueled by, my mistake, I haven't been in the studio in a minute, fueled by Monster Energy. I'm drinking one now. I'm sweating in this sauna that we're in, but we're here. We're making it happen. It's kind of like, instead of hot yoga, it's a hot show. So, Smitty, what's going on?
I'm doing great, man. Not my best bet of the night that I gave out here. The Yankees. Hey, great job on giving up 9 in the first, guys. I appreciate it. Hey, maybe, the sauna, maybe I'll lose 5 pounds and come out of here feeling good about myself. My bet's not doing well, but maybe I'm going to look a lot better. So, no, it's a great time. I mean, there's a lot of action. We got the NBA playoffs coming up, baseball, college baseball. You got hockey. Jason, I bet is so excited right now. So there's a lot. We got the Kentucky Derby coming up here.
No, I'm not excited about hockey.
Well, because the Penguins aren't in it. Oh, I know. Everybody has. Listen.
At least you cashed.
We got to move on. I'm down 9-0. And I'll talk about my other winner tonight. I got one close coming tonight. I'll talk about that. But how you doing, Jason?
I'm doing pretty good. The weather's actually been really nice here. Got the golf game in, starting to work on it. Almost ready to go. Going to go up to Penn State Blue White on Saturday. Should get nice weather for that as well. And like you said, the hockey season has ended. I did cash my hater bet on my own Penguins, which will make our fans pretty happy as we are, based here in Northern Virginia. Obviously, the Cap season ended a long time ago. The hockey playoffs are always great, so that'll be great to get into it. And I'm trying to catch up on the NBA to be able to bet their playoffs. So, yeah, good times.
Yeah, the weather's great until you go out and your car's like one color, and now it's like yellow.
Oh, it's been brutal here.
And then your wife elbows you about 20 times in the middle of the night because you're snoring real bad, and she's like ready to kick you out. And you're going to start sleeping downstairs by yourself. So, yeah, other than that, it's all good. The weather's nice. So,
Smitty, just kick the show off real quick because probably 40 minutes ago you tell me you got these great stat lines, and then we're getting ready to go in the air, and your team's down 9-0 in like the first or second inning.
Okay, so real quick, I give out a best bet on Sharp Angle Syndicate, and if you have not jumped on that, jump on that site because those guys are fantastic. So my play tonight was the Yankees. And it's not looking good. It's 9-0. They're down. Now it's early. Just remember, the Pirates were up years ago, 10-0 against the Phillies back when I was like 10 years old, and Philly came back. So I'm still hoping on that. But they were 13 out of 15 at home against them. And since 2000, this was all on Follow the Money this morning. Paulie gave this out. Since 2002, 104-38 against the Twins. So I had to roll it tonight. Now, I didn't like it because I got it at minus 150 and it went down to about minus 130. So I knew it was going in the wrong direction of where I wanted it to go. So I was a little nervous. Now, did I think I was going to be down 9-0? I did not. But, we move on. I'm doing best bet. If I lose this, I'm 9-5 on the site right now. So I'm still doing really well. So, the thing, like Paulie said, that the Twins are good. That they had some really good Twins teams. So that's remarkable that the Yankees were doing.
Yeah, that was the Mauer Morneau, the Phil Nevin era.
I mean, you had the Santana, the pitcher. I mean, they had some really, Johan Santana. Yep. They had some really good players on that team. So a little shocking, not where I wanted it, but I did give out one earlier in the day, and let me just hit on that. I did give out Baltimore, a 3-team money line parlay, Baltimore, Tampa, and I have the Padres tonight at, I think, 9:30 against Milwaukee. And if that hits, that's a plus 279 winner. So that will help a little bit. So I need that.
All right, real quick, we're going to circle back to baseball. I just wanted to get that out of the way. As Smitty said,
great stats.
Great stats. We're moving on. We're forgetting about that. Just chalk it up as a loss. We bounce back later. Let's start real quick. It's breaking news. I mean, we're a little late today on the game, but it looks to be like the Washington Commanders sale is being finalized with Josh Harris's group. I believe that's the one with Magic Johnson as well. Josh Harris is mostly known for being I believe majority owner of the 76ers And then obviously Magic Johnson being with the Dodgers, the Lakers, and then obviously now he's coming in with the Commanders. That should be good. I mean, I think Magic brings somebody who understands what it's like to win. You saw what he did with the Dodgers. He essentially bought a World Series. I think he's going to be in that win now mode. He's got a young core to kind of build on. It'll be interesting. I think Josh Harris, the same thing. We saw him rebuild the 76ers, and they've had a really good 6-season stretch. They're kind of right on the cusp. So I think it's going to be a good sale for the Commanders, and I don't know, man. Maybe there's a brand change. I know there's a lot of rumors that maybe he comes in and completely wipes Commanders away, whether it's Major Tuddy as well as the team name, almost just to get a fresh start and really just rid of the Dan Snyder area. So maybe we get the Redskins back. I don't know.
It doesn't matter who took over there. You just had to get, what's his name, Snyder out of there.
Agree.
So anybody that's taken over, good for them. Maybe it will bring some luck because they need some luck.
All right, now that that's gone away, let's get right into the show. You guys had bets on it. I didn't bet. I watched it. It was great, except for the rain. But the Sunday matchups or the Sunday round was really good. You had the third round finish up earlier in the morning, and then at 2 o'clock the fourth round started. And John Rahm kind of pulled away from that point. But great Masters on Sunday, beautiful weather. Obviously, Brooks Koepka was leading for 3 rounds. Lets it go at the end of the third round. John Rahm takes it over and really held a 2 or 3 stroke lead pretty much the entire round Sunday. Smitty and Jason, why don't you guys start? Jason, we'll start with you. Kind of what was your thoughts of the Masters? Did you have any bets on it? I know Nails and Smitty did. And then kind of what's your thoughts on maybe some guys who played well, who didn't, kind of what your viewpoint was?
Yeah, I did have some bets. I had Scheffler to win. I got a nice little boost from one of the things. And
he had a late charge. He had a late charge.
He green, he was fine. He was probably the champion, but he couldn't putt for anything. Kind of looked like me out there on the green. No, it was really enjoyable. I did win on Sun JM on a rest of the world bet. He's the high finisher for someone, and it was just basically all the other countries that had him qualified. I think I lost on Corey Connors. It was really tricky because if you had guys making the cut, it was really hard to figure out who actually made the cut and who missed it because they finished the round kind of like midday.
Yeah.
With the second round, so you're like, are my guys in or are they not in? And you kind of had to catch up a little bit. Golf was great. I mean, there was a point there on Sunday where you got that true Masters feel where Rahm was kind of scuffling a little bit, Brooks Koepka was scuffling a little bit, and everybody was going through those birdie holes that are on the other side of Amen Corner and making a run. Phil was in that group. All those guys were kind of getting up there, and you always forget about it. The Masters is set up so perfectly because when the leaders are on the hardest part of the course, all the guys behind them are on the birdie holes, and then all of a sudden they start dropping putts and making scores. Place starts going nuts, and you're looking like anyone can win this, and you realize, well, those guys are going to crack at that too.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't get that way, right? You see the bogey on 8, and you forget about the eagle on 15, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, there's going to be like 20 people up there. And meanwhile, it never works out that way. It's actually one of the tournament, the last grouping usually wins. So, yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was amazing they got it in on time with all the weather that they had this week.
Yeah, I had Justin Thomas, which wasn't good, didn't make the cut. I had him to win in top 5, which I came right back with him this week, and we can talk about that in a second. I did hit Xander Schauffele top 10, so I did have one on my card. I had Tom Hoagie, which I came back with Tom Hoagie this week, top 20, which he's off to just a garbage start again. So, Hoagie, Yankees, they're kind of going all together right now in my mind. But no, it was good. One thing, like I said, I had one on my major ticket. We do a draft between myself and a bunch of guys. Jason's in it, Matt's in it. I had the 3rd overall pick, so I did have John Rahm on my team. So that was a big winner. I'm in first place out, I think, about 12, 13 guys. Shane Lowry was good. I had him on my team, and Gary Woodland also I drafted with my last pick in that draft, and he played really well. So got myself a little bit of money on that. So, but overall, it was great. I agree. Rahm, Brooks, very head to head. You had Phil. Phil's done nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. I mean, we had Brady Cannon on last week. What a great guest. If you did not check that show out, go back and check that show out. And, he even said a lot of people is he going to make the cut? Is he not going to make the cut? And then, I mean, he was right there. It was really close. So great job by Phil.
We kind of touched base in our text chat. Guys like Phil and even Tiger. I mean, you could see he was visibly and physically hurting, and he even made the cut. Like when you look at these guys who have won, especially even a banged up Tiger and just a kind of a washed up at the end of his career Phil. Any other course is difficult, but when it comes to the Masters, I mean, that's where the skilled guys really win, and you can't ever really rule those guys out. And Phil will, and Tiger, I mean, Tiger's limping on the course to finish round 3, but those guys can wake up out of bed and make the cut at that course because they're just legends of the golf game, and they just know, every year there's minor differences in the course, but they know that course so well that they've been there for the last 25 years. You really can't count those guys out. I mean, now Tiger, again, he really wasn't in competition. It was good to see him make the cut, but Phil, like you said, he was right there. He's making a charge, and that's good for golf. I mean, anytime you can put Phil, whether he's at LIV or on the PGA Tour, on the cameras heading into the final round, everybody, I mean, the middle-aged American are massive Phil Mickelson fans. It's just, it's prototypical, and to see those guys kind of making a charge and say, hey, just because I'm, almost 50 years old, I can still play with the 29, 30-year-old guys. It's good for golf. It's same thing with Koepka. I mean, Koepka was lights out for probably 2 years, and then he kind of has the yips. He changes clubs from TaylorMade to Srixon. He's figuring those out. He's unhappy. He's came off of the LIV with a win heading into that tournament. And outside of Sunday, he played really well. Now, when he started allowing Jon Rahm to come in, he collapsed and he just couldn't kind of compose himself and get going. But it was good to see Koepka on the leaderboard.
He was spraying the ball. A lot of he just couldn't get consistent down the fairway. It was all over the place. And I think, again...
But it was good to see him up there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean...
Same thing with Jason Day until he kind of collapsed.
I mean, and, the thing with Phil... there's a lot of pro-live, anti-live kind of people. Phil's kind of
he's the outspoken of them all.
He's he's the cowboy that wears the dark hat and to be the bad guy. And for him to come up, it kind of just it made the tournament a little intriguing a little bit, and kind of like that. Then you had Patrick Reed,
who was hated on the tour.
Nobody likes. He started coming a little bit up in it too. So it was entertaining. And we'll get Jason's 2 cents here. It was tough with the conditions, and we talked about it last week on the show. And Saturday was rough.
Yeah.
And then, it finally came on TV, and it was on for like about 20 minutes, and then it was done. And then you had the Sunday that it turned out nice. So I'm glad Sunday turned out well with the conditions and everything, because when you watch that, you always want it to, it's always been sunny. It's always sunny and nice, and everybody, the beautiful scenery and everything like that. So, Jason, what's your overall opinion on it?
Yeah, no, I think you guys touched on it. This is the ultimate horse for the course, and these guys know how to play it. You actually saw it with the amateur Bennett. He was starting to make the mistakes that if you've read any Golf Digest or Golf Magazine article about the Masters, the things you don't do, he was doing all of them. So I don't know what his caddy was doing, but he was falling into all the traps there, and it just showed in his score.
Rule number one there, you do not talk bad about the course. Rule number one, do not bash Augusta like he did.
That is the DeChambeau rule, and we know that he's never come back from that.
He says Ridgewood's gone, way harder, and then immediate tank. It's karma, man. Augusta knows. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I had Reed plus 1,100 to be the top live golfer, and I was feeling really good about that until Phil decided to channel his 1997 self there.
Yeah.
And he actually left his shot out there. I think it was 15. He left the putt like an inch short.
Yeah, I watched that.
He could have easily been second place there. Koepka got in his own head after he started spraying drives because he had too much time to think between shots. That's why he was so mad at Cantlay, is that he was just sitting there beating himself up, and it just kind of compounded from there. He couldn't get right. But he looks good. I mean, he looks a little heavier than he's been, which I think he's not trying to eat like an actor. He's trying to actually eat like an athlete.
Yeah.
So it's good. I mean, he looked healthy. He was hitting the shots that you remember, real good ball control, everything like that. So he's going to be back in the mix. He's got to figure a way out to live. I don't know how he'll do it, but yeah, it was the Masters did a really good job. However they did it, maybe by threatening physical force or whatever, but they just basically said we're not going to have LIV versus PGA this week. We're just going to all play with each other. We'll all remember how much we like to watch each other play, and it really played out nicely. I don't think you're going to see that at the U.S. Open or the PGA. I do think you'll see the sniping start at these later majors, but it was a great event. I really enjoyed it.
The great thing about that Bennett is he had to play Monday, which he didn't play. but he had to go back. I think it was at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And he had to go to some course, and he had to like carry his own bags.
That's crazy.
Could you imagine playing like in the Masters, and you're coming up, and everyone's going crazy, and you're doing interviews, and then you have to fly back home, and then play the next day, and they're like, "No, I don't know what the course looked like. I mean, it can't be anywhere
But that'll
near
be short-lived.
But it was like, hey, carry your own bags," which he didn't play in the tournament. I wish he would have played. I just wanted
That'd
to
have been great.
hear how he would have turned out after that. And the good thing about this week, tournament this week.
Yeah, we'll just kind of parlay this into golf right now.
Okay, let's go. So the tournament this week is the Heritage I think it's down in South Carolina. I think down by Myrtle Beach. I have a couple plays on it here, and Matty put his plays out. But the one good thing with the Live, they jumped the purse up a little bit here. I think the Live kind of got the PGA to maybe jump this up a little bit.
They have a lot of 29 millions and 20 millions now.
John Rahm's here again, which you would have never saw that. But now I think he did say he committed a couple months ago, so he really thought he needed to be there. Rory, got out of it, I think, on Monday. But you have Scheffler, you got Fitzpatrick, you got Victor Hovland. I think he's winning the tournament again. That'd be 2 straight tournaments in a row that he's the first round leader if that holds right now. So exciting. I mean, it's great that there's big names again in the tournament right after. Jason, did you have any plays in this week?
I didn't. I was having a hard time trying to figure out who to play because a lot of these guys hadn't played this course. This is an event they skip a lot. And I guess they're going to a rotating format where there's going to be purse increases in certain events, and they're going to rotate it around. So this year, Hilton Head, this event got the boost, and you see all the good players there. You can only miss, I think, one of those events, one of the elevated events, to be able to qualify for a bonus. So Rory's actually already out of it because Kapalua in Hawaii was the first elevated event, and he skipped that one as well. So they're kind of curious whether he got a little leeway, like a little Tiger Woods leeway on this. To skip.
Are they going to say?
Well,
with the withdrawal, if that's a medical withdrawal, does that count against you?
I'm guessing they're going to find a loophole.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a, but I like it. If they're going to do that and rotate to some of these other events that you kind of grew up watching, I think that's good for everybody because it's just like the NBA. Certain cities don't get to see the good players play. Well, certain events on tour don't get to see the good players play, and it'd be nice to see every city kind of get represented that way. So I like it. It's nice seeing these guys play this. This is a tough course, and it doesn't suit everyone's game, so it's nice to see these guys kind of adjust likewise. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm going to read Matt's plays since he's not with us, but he did have some here for the RBC Heritage. So Matt posted it. It was his flyer bet. He's got Speed to finish 1, Cantlay 2 at 25,000 plus 25,000. What's that? That's plus 250 to 1. Is that right? Yeah, plus 250 to 1. Top 20, Fox plus 600 and Game plus 1,000, 10 to 1. Montgomery round robin top 7 is 100 to 1, and then Justin Thomas round robin top 7 is 25 to 1. So those are his plays. That's all his plays. So we'll get those. He's tweeted them out. If you follow Matt, so find those on his Twitter for reference.
And I know Fox, I think WD'd already because I know he.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep. So Fox is out, but the rest of the plays are live. I don't have any. Like I said, I may jump in but the U.S. Open's in California, right? If I'm not mistaken. I'm just telling you right now, I'm putting on Max Homa to win. I'm going to put one play. The guy is electric out in California. I'm telling you right now.
He's not electric on the East Coast.
No, he's not. Well, he did win. Potomac last year. It was a big tournament for him, big win. But outside of that, you are right. He's not that great. Yeah,
he's not off to a good start again today.
Yeah. So that's going to be my probably entry to the golf plays this year with you guys. But if you guys don't have anything golf, we'll kind of.
I'll just get mine real quick.
Oh yeah,
I have Thomas, Justin Thomas to win it. I have him top 5 also. I have Matt Fitzpatrick top 10.
You said he's leading, right?
Plus 280. No, second or third, I believe.
Okay.
That's my best bet that I gave out last night. He's off to a good start. I think the leader's at -7. He was at -5.
Oh, he's right there.
And then Tom Hoagie again, and Tom Hoagie can go with the Yankees right now because they're down 11-0 now. So,
all right, let's kind of circle back to MLB since we touched on it. So we'll go MLB, XFL, and then kind of finish up with college baseball since we're kind of doing that predominantly. So MLB, let's kind of talk. I will just kind of update everybody. So I did place 2 3 futures. The Nats over 58.5 wins. I'm on a 49 win pace, so a lot of season left. It's okay. Bright spot for that team is Mackenzie Gore. He's pitching really well. He didn't pitch last year. After the trade, he had some elbow issues and shoulder issues, so they kept him out just to kind of let him acclimate and get healthy. So he's pitching really well. Josiah Gray's hit or miss right now. The offense is atrocious. Now they are scoring some runs. They're not hitting the home run. They're kind of playing small ball, but they're at a 49 win pace, so that's not good. My Cubs are looking good. They have a above 500 record. Dansby Swanson looks like he really hasn't missed a step from Atlanta to Chicago. That team, I think Josh Towers is right midseason. The pitching might be their issue there, but I'm holding on to that. I have that over 76.5 wins, so I look good there. And then the A's, they have the second to last worst record, and I have them as the worst record. So I'm right there. They're only like a half game up on that, so I'm looking pretty solid.
Yeah, I gave out 2 real quick. I gave over the Pirates 67.5 minus 110 off to a pretty good start, 7-5, I believe. They have a big game tonight.
Little blow on Neil Cruz is loud.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's gonna hurt.
That strains it a little bit.
That's gonna hurt. And then I also gave out the under 88.5 wins on the Philadelphia Phillies at minus 125, and that's looking okay right now too. Jason, what do you have?
I didn't play anything. I actually looked at the futures. We had that show. I got kind of lost in the numbers there. But Hugh, your biggest threat to the Oakland A's having the worst record is the fact that the Detroit Tigers are an absolute abomination. Like, it's bad. So I started pulling some numbers together for the show, and there's literally nothing they're good at.
I think they have, 2 wins?
It's 2 wins, and it's pretty surprising they even have 2 wins. Because it's like left-handed pitching, right-handed pitching, starting pitching, relief. It's just all brutal. Their offense is 40% below average on everything. It's like,
dude, it's a AAA team. It really is.
So I wrote down numbers Sunday night. These are coming into Monday. Tigers had an ERA 7.20. Bullpen had 6.18.
Yeah,
and their bullpen blew another game last night against Toronto.
But Josh mentioned that. You guys were there. I mean, he said when I asked him, what is this pitch clock and the time constraint? Who does it affect more? And he said pitching, and I think we're seeing that. It's been pretty over heavy. You got 6 ERAs, you got 7 ERAs.
Well, you go back in. I got another one here with walks coming into Monday. Tigers 32. You know who was the worst was the White Sox, man. The Sox had a 7.38 ERA. Bullpen was 8.31, and then they led with 46 walks they gave up. I mean, that is bad stuff.
There's no time to reset. I mean, credit to Josh Towers. I mean, he hit it right on the head. Jason, what's your kind of thoughts on that?
No, I think the team really affected by it is the Phillies. That's a really good pitching staff. They're struggling right now. And, if you go to MLB StatCast, you'll see that last year the Phillies were probably the slowest pitching rotation and bullpen in Major League Baseball. And that's with runners on, with runners off. And guys just can't catch up. Nola came out and even said after one of his bad outings that he's having a really hard time adjusting when guys get on base. He likes to slow the game down and focus on his pitches, and he can't do that. So I do think that's helped the batting average. I think the hitters had a little more advantage than Josh thought they were going to, because I think they're just getting better pitches. I think guys are missing more because they're kind of focused on getting that pitch off, and the runners on base are getting to them because guys are stealing.
Yeah.
It's nice to see runners moving. It's nice to see the strategy come back in baseball, whether you're going to cover the bag or whether you're going to cover the run, the hole. So I like it, but it's definitely affecting a lot of teams. And I definitely think you're seeing teams play more defensive lineups. You get more singles hitters in the lineup, so you're actually getting some more action in general.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's going to hurt the Phillies with those elevated ERAs is you got to have the firepower in your lineup, and not having Rhys Hoskins is pretty big.
Well, I think too, you got to keep an eye on. They said something on the show the other day. Like, I'm going to use Rich Hill. They used Rich Hill for the Pirates. Now he did throw an okay game yesterday, or was that yesterday, Jason? He pitched.
Yeah, that was
okay. The bullpen really blew up, and I mean it was 7-0 loss they had, but he threw an okay game. But they said he is one guy that is not happy with the pitch clock, and you can tell, like, he's given up a lot of home runs. Doesn't seem older guy, veteran guy, kind of in his ways. Now you changing on them.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen, we're all getting older ourselves. We don't like when things change.
Absolutely.
And I think you're going to see that, with some of these, maybe these older pitchers that are used to one way, and now they have to go a lot quicker, because a lot of these guys, if they were struggling, they'd step off and catch their breath, and now they have to go. So, I mean, I think that's a thing. Pitchers to fade is a great thing. And I have a couple that I've been eyeing up, and I can say here in a minute, but Rich Hill might be one that might struggle for the Pirates.
It's interesting because he's a guy. So this shows you how this clock's kind of in their head. He's actually a guy who works pretty fast. He was a top 25 pitcher when it came to like pitches, time between pitches last year. So if he thinks it's a problem, then what are these guys that were like on the back end of that spectrum thinking? Like they must feel like they're just getting the ball and throwing it every single time.
I think it's just a mentality thing. Like you said, even though he was one of the faster, they almost feel rushed. It's almost like he was subconsciously fast, and now he's being consciously fast. We always have in the fire department, we always say like slow is smooth, smooth is steady, steady is fast. And if you have that mentality, then you end up going faster. But if you start rushing, you start messing up, you're leaving pitches high, your curveball is not breaking as much, things like that. So I think once it's become a conscious in your head thing, it's just messing you up, and you kind of have to figure that out. And like you said, that could be an issue all season with these older guys, with the exception of like a Max Scherzer who, can kind of adapt to different things like that. I think one of the teams that this is actually potentially going to benefit is somebody like the Padres later in the season, just with the offensive firepower. I think you're going to see like LA benefit from that, because these pitchers, not only are they going to be a little more tired, they're more runs, things like that. It's kind of like in college baseball, who's going to outscore who. And I think at the end of the day, you got to have the guys that can put it over the fence and guys that can hit the gaps. And unfortunately, I say this unfortunately, but realistically, your all-stars typically do that better than most players, and the teams that have the better stacked lineups. I think later in the season, you'll start to see them kind of pull away.
Now, here's the question here: Is Tampa Bay ever going to lose? Here
they'll lose, but dude, look at the offensive numbers.
I want to give this out too. So Greg Peterson,
that's the difference.
Greg Peterson tweeted this out last night, and I wrote it down. This was coming into today. The Rays are 12. They were 12-0. 11 of their wins were by the run line, which is they have to win by by 2 runs.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. Okay. Usually get a game like the team, you get a money line and then you get a run line with a line on it. So they've won 11 out of their 12 games by more than 2 runs. So what did they do this afternoon? They won again, and they covered the run line.
But you look at their offense now, it's been elevated. You have average players that play really good team ball. I mean, anybody can hit a belt-high fastball. You have just made them better because of the clock, in my opinion. But I mean, you feed any Major League Baseball player a belt-high fastball, their home runs, and I forget what the number was, it took them, whatever they're at, 32 games last year, they've done it in 12.
Well, this is, again, stats coming into Monday. You had them hitting 282. They had 21 home runs leading the AL. Stolen bases were not in it. Okay, but here's the pitching. They had a 2.13 team ERA. Bullpen was the best, 1.86. Well, no wonder they're winning. I mean, they're in every category. They're at every category that really matters.
So the bullpen ERA is good, but there's actually, if you look at their FIP, it's a little leakier. That's about literally the only thing they're doing average right now. Everything else is like off the charts good. So, I mean, that'll normalize, but I think they've lost 2 starters now, because I think they lost Springs today in the game where they're a little worried that he's got a UCL issue. And I think they already lost somebody else from their rotation because they had to call somebody up to pitch last night, when their top prospect. But the problem is, if they're going to lose pitching, they're not going to lose anything, because that system is just absolutely loaded with arms.
You figure they're going to get Tyler Glass now back too.
I jumped on him I jumped on him yesterday. I mean, it was like minus 120, 125, and I said, you know what? I'm betting that. I mean, until they lose, if you get that low of a number, absolutely take it. I'll take a chance with it. Now, like I said, it was a high number today. I liked Baltimore. I matched that up, and then I took a game about minus 130, 135 with Padres tonight against the Brewers.
My last question on this for you guys, because I've been really focused on college baseball, so lines-wise, I haven't been as extensive in them. Is the Rays minus 125? They're 12-0. What 12-0?
13-0.
13-0. Are you guys seeing maybe a trend where, like, in college baseball, they really don't, the Vegas doesn't really know how to cap some teams? Are you seeing, because maybe these teams and its new adjustment of rules, are the lines pretty accurate, or would you say you're kind of catching some value while Vegas is trying to catch up to this whole new style of play?
They've been pretty high.
Pretty high.
Games.
Yeah.
Pretty game. Like a lot of games are pretty high. That was one of the lowest. I don't know. Jason might remember this going way back, like beginning of the season. I don't know where some of those games were, and I might have bet them. I don't remember, but that was the lowest I saw. I think it was yesterday. So.
Yeah, no, I think they came in thinking it was going to be a lower run environment because of the changes. And if you remember last year, it was all unders the first month of the season.
Yeah.
Like, there was totals getting down, I think, to like 5.5 for a game if you had two really good starters going. But this year, they were quick. Like, they did not waste time once they saw the runs. When they saw the Pirates scoring runs, they're like, oh, we got to get these totals in order. They really did. I thought they adjusted it pretty quickly, and there wasn't a whole lot of value of taking overs yet. So if you're taking an over number, you're taking a pretty high number. I mean, it's coming through, but it makes you nervous.
Interesting. All right, let's jump to the XFL. I know we're coming. So one team has already clinched, the DC Defenders. They're 7-1. 10-week schedule, correct?
10 weeks.
Yeah, 10 weeks. So we've got 2 weeks left, and then we go into the playoffs. I'm pulling a lineup. Smitty, why don't you just talk about while I'm pulling these lines up for this week, and then I kind of want to see what we're looking at moving forward. But why don't you talk about the XFL? At least I know you're a big Seattle fan, so maybe start with that.
Yeah, and I'll be very honest. I have not, with baseball and college baseball, I'm really diving into right now and trying to give out some plays. I haven't watched a ton. Now, the one I did watch, because I was very excited about, was the Sunday night game between
that was a shootout.
DC and Seattle. And in my opinion, again, I really think those are the two best teams. I love the Seattle team. Great game. I was texting the guys here. I thought it was such an entertaining game. Both teams making plays. Quarterbacks made big plays. Great tackling at times. Then some leaky defense at times too. But if you really like football, I think this has been fantastic. I think the XFL has really hit a home run with this. What's your overall thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, no, that game was excellent. Like, it was going back and forth. Like, the crowd was into it. They've had some games that have been really entertaining. I mean, they've had some snoozers too. Like, if you get Vegas or San Antonio involved, it can be a bit of a bore. But even the Guardians have kind of woken up over the last couple of games here. They at least score points and have high-scoring games when they play. I think you're right, Smitty. I think those are the two best teams. I know St. Louis is ahead of Seattle, but watching them play, I think they're the one team that probably could give DC a run if it got to the playoffs, because the one thing you've seen with Greg Williams do, he does not believe in a prevent defense. That kind of came back to bite him on Sunday. He's still bringing the heat in the fourth quarter, even if they're up 2 scores, and it would just make sense to make them grind in front of them and, have an 11-play drive. He's still bringing heat. He's got man coverage in the back. So when you have those run and shoot teams, they can definitely exploit it. But these are the two teams I would expect to see in the final unless something happens.
I loved it because I had a great interaction. I'm not going to get on my phone and try to look to see where it was. And I lost. I had moneyline Seattle, so I did lose that game. But, I tweeted out and said, sometimes there's a winner and there's a loser. Sometimes you're not going to win every bet. No. But I said it was such an entertaining game. And then somebody wrote me and said, must have been on the side I was on, and he's like, yeah, but I didn't really like that play call at the end for when they went for 2. And I said, no, I agreed with you. I didn't really like it either. And Danucci was trying to get him just to maybe tie the game, but they really wanted to go for a win. And again, the play call, was it bad? I don't know. The DC, they read it great. I mean, it was a good defensive play. So.
He saw the bootleg coming from a mile away.
Yes, he did. So, I mean, he blew it up. So, was it a bad play? I don't know. It was just they read it well, and he made a great play.
Yeah, I think ultimately that will be your what is that game called? It's not the Super Bowl. I guess it's just the XFL championship. The finals. I don't know what it's called. We haven't really heard.
It's down in San Antonio. I think they picked San Antonio to be the host for it this year.
I was looking at stats pre-show, and the one thing Te'amu, I mean, the big question mark was, can he throw consistently? The guy's got 10 touchdowns to 1 pick. He's the only one like sub 4 picks, so that's really good. He's still starting to throw the ball. They're so balanced. They have 14 rushing touchdowns, 13 passing touchdowns. They're just so good. I look at the stats. 2 of their receivers, Blair and Lucky Jackson, are in the top 5 in receiving. your quarterback, obviously, maybe not on the yardage, but the efficiency's there. You got De'Aaron King who can run. Abrams has 400 yards, more than the second most rushing guy. You look at the interceptions. They're second in the league in interceptions, third in fumbles. They just signed DJ Swearinger, so that's an upgrade in this league. I just don't see anybody beating them. I mean, I look at DiNucci. I think he's probably the best air-out quarterback. Him and McCarron are there. But DiNucci's got 10 picks. I mean, that's a problem against the DC defenders. They've already returned 3 back for touchdowns. I really don't see anybody beating them, to be honest. I mean, they're going to have... I don't know how the playoff format's going to work. Are they going to play the whole, kind of like spring training, are they playing the whole playoffs down in San Antonio, or are they going to play home games? Have we heard?
I have not looked that up.
That's a good question. I have not heard. Jason?
I have not heard. The championship game does not have a funky name. So
okay.
It says South and North divisions at TBD, so I got to assume that's home field advantage. So
okay.
Obviously,
I think that's going to, yeah. I mean, it's going to play on both sides.
Well, I think another team you got to keep an eye on is St. Louis. Now, that's a big game this week. You have, Seattle is going into St. Louis.
Yep.
St. Louis really packs that place. It's a big home
30,000 plus.
Yeah, that's a good team too. A lot can happen. Again, like I said, I'm not going to say I'm not an expert here. I've kind of gone into baseball a little bit here, but I'm trying to hit some of the key games here. But I think the playoffs, I think the 3 best teams again, DC, St. Louis, Seattle are the 3 teams that someone's going to win the trophy.
Jason?
Yeah, and like you just said, that's a very important game because 2 of those teams are coming out of the division. So that's basically an elimination game between St. Louis and Seattle this week to see who advances. So Houston has an easier path because they really shouldn't get pushed by anybody in the South. And so they're basically going to championship game. So DC basically probably will have to get past Seattle again in the semi.
I think it'll happen. I think in the NFL we always say it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but I think it is more doable in this league. I don't know. We'll see.
You got to be careful in that because Seattle's had them twice. Seattle lost at the goal line in that first game in DC.
Yeah, DiNucci fumbled.
I think he fumbled right at the goal line. And then that game was down to the very end. So I think it's 2 really even teams here.
Smitty, it's worth you laying some pizza money. I'm looking at the championship odds.
Yeah, I've been saying it for weeks on the show. I take Seattle.
So you have DC at plus 115 to win it. The Roughnecks are the next favorite at plus 240. I think that alludes to Jason's kind of easy path. St. Louis at plus 400. And then Seattle is plus 550. The other teams, 1,200 and 7,500.
I'd take Seattle for sure.
Ooh, that's nice. That's cute. What book was that at?
That's FanDuel. I mean, so you're going to be in that 5 to 6 range, typically, probably across the books. I'd
take a chance with Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, how do you... I don't see St. Louis getting it. I really don't. I think if you're going to lay it between the defenders, Houston and Seattle, I think you're still looking at decent money. I mean, at least you're getting the defenders plus money. It's whatever those 3 teams are, I think you're making the right pick. But just interesting. Now we got 2 weeks left. It'll be interesting to see how the playoff is. Hopefully it's home field advantage. Hopefully it's not how they did the training camp. But I don't have the answer. I'll look that up, and we'll bring it back next show. But I just kind of wanted to take a look at those odds now that we are getting near playoff games. So it's something to watch. It's pretty good football. I don't know how the USFL is going to top that. I think it's been pretty successful this year. I think it's a good league. I think we're seeing good games. So I don't know.
I think the USFL really kicks itself in the butt with the random places where these teams play. These
Memphis good looks.
Yeah, the Memphis. But I'm saying they play in the markets that they don't actually practice those markets, but they play there. There's clearly been an association between the home fans and the teams. Like DC's getting great crowds, Seattle gets good crowds, St. Louis gets insane crowds, better than some NFL markets. You even see some of the Texas ones do well. USFL, there's a Pittsburgh team, allegedly, and they play in Canton, Ohio, in a college stadium.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
There's a couple like that. The Michigan team plays in Nashville, I think. That's just not going to work. And the XFL, those teams, like I said, DC was excited that they had a football team that actually.
Well, it's in the city as well. That's a big thing. Is DC fans want to see football within the city lines, and you get it. I mean, obviously, it's not the Commanders, but it's still good football, and people get excited for that. So I think that's why it's a big market. But then also, you look at the USFL like draft picks. Those guys, like if you weren't drafted in the XFL, you kind of slid your name in the USFL. I think the XFL having the season first and then initially paying more was kind of I think that was Dwayne Johnson's like, hey, we're going to just outbid the USFL and get off on the right foot. And I think you're really going to see it. I mean, I just don't see how that league's going to succeed. You can't have 3 football leagues. You've got the pros and then the minors, essentially, and the XFL seems to have locked that kind of minor league football or pro-am football. I don't even know what you want to call it, up pretty well. So
yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's going to work. It's something I'm probably not going to cover, but I'm just glad the XFL is successful. But we move on. Let's talk something that Smitty and I have been really hot on. We picked it up a couple years ago. I've really dove into it, and we're doing really well. Smitty's picked it up really well this year. He dove right in. He dipped his toes last year. This year, he's jumped in the water off the diving board, and he's killing it. So congrats to you. But let's talk a little college baseball, Smitty. What's your thoughts so far this season? What are a couple teams that you like, and then I'll kind of bounce off of mine.
Well, yeah, I think again, diving into this, you're a lot more expert with the players and everything. I kind of look at team stats, and I'm kind of looking just at numbers and some other things. So it's going well right now. So let's hope it continues. And you're crushing it too, my friend. So we have 2 pretty good minds here working on it, and I know Maddie will dive in, Jason will dive in here and there with that also. A couple teams. You look, LSU's, in my opinion, the most dominant team. They have a lot of, great arms. They can really hit the ball. They're putting on.
They're up 14-3.
14-3 tonight. Yeah. We both were on that play. I have them in a parlay tonight. They hit the ball really well. They're playing Kentucky. Kentucky has pretty good arms.
Yeah.
I mean, you called this well on Twitter a couple days ago. You called Kentucky out and said they have some big series coming up here. I think they have LSU. I think they have Florida coming up.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be really, is this team for real? They do have some good arms, but again, the bats are out tonight on this. I said to Q, his team's Florida. Florida has a really good team, 3 good pitchers that can really come at you. UVA is playing fantastic right now. I really like them. I've taken them a couple times. I think they have a 21-22 game home streak.
21, yeah. They're going for 22 tomorrow.
Yeah, so, looking at teams like that, I think another team, I really like the South Carolina team. Vanderbilt's starting to turn it on. Coming on right now, and they've been really dominant the last couple of years. So, some mid-major teams I kind of like. Florida Gulf Coast is a good one. They score a lot of runs. Campbell's having a great year.
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina, they had a big series. I think it was they played this week, I think 2 games.
Yep.
That was a really good early week kind of schedule.
Coastal has a big one right now against ODU starting tomorrow.
Yeah, ODU's another really good mid-major team. So it's exciting. If you haven't watched college baseball, I would for sure tell you to watch it. If you haven't gambled it, I think you got to watch the midweek games. Sometimes you can get the dogs really to come in and win the games, but the weekend series, dive in a little bit. I think it's good. It's entertaining. And we're both crushing it. So just follow us on Twitter and you win some money.
Yeah. A couple of my teams, I would say there's 6 teams bona fide that could win. And I think UVA is 7 kind of looking in the window. They're there. They're at the front door, but they're looking in the door from the outside. The only thing that in my opinion kind of hurts them is their pitching. When you compare it to those other 6 teams, they just don't have anybody dominant. And I think that might be the only. They're good. They're very good. They play very good team ball. But I just think when you get to that level, you got to have a number 1 ace, and I think they have a bunch of number 2s, which isn't a bad thing. But I think College World Series, it's tough. Vandy, Florida, Arkansas, Wake Forest, LSU, I think are your bona fide teams. South Carolina and Tennessee, you brought those up. Both teams, last year, Kentucky was the only team to beat that gauntlet powerhouse Tennessee team in a series. I think they're playing a little above, the trajectory of the team. They're very good. They're improving. I think they're starting to settle back down. I said it on Twitter that I thought Georgia was going to win the series last week, and they did. I think they're kind of coming back down to earth. Kentucky is, and I think you're going to see that with South Carolina as well. I think they're very good, but they were okay last year, and now they're number 6 in the country. Teams you can overplay early on, but I think you start to kind of come back down to earth a little bit as you start playing these teams. Now, the way last week went, I think LSU, had they played that doubleheader, LSU would have taken a series. Obviously, it ended tied 1-1. Had they played the game on Sunday, I think that would have given South Carolina the opportunity to take that series. So I think it was a bummer for both teams. I think LSU could have used that doubleheader when South Carolina collapsed to then kind of roll it back into getting that extra win. And I think South Carolina actually benefited from not playing that game because they can kind of reset after a huge meltdown that they had. Like it was like a 7-3 lead, and they lost it late in the game. Great teams. There are some teams that I'm telling you right now, if you have any sense of college baseball interest, please get them in. Get Wake Forest. This is me. Wake Forest has value. I got them at like 13-1. I think you can catch them still at 10-1, which is good value for that team given their pitching and their monstrosity of a lineup. Florida's bullpen's starting to figure it out. Brandon Neely leads the SEC in saves with 7. He's really starting to find his groove. Phil Abner's coming out of nowhere. Nick Figueroa's pitching really well, and they have one of the best offenses in the country. They got this guy named Jack Taney who's pitching. He's a little struggling right now on Sundays, but then he goes and hits, a 600-foot bomb to help his case typically. So that's another team. And I think Arkansas, if they can get healthy, if they can get Brady Tiger back, which I think is the best closer in college baseball, they're worth the money, man. They're going to lose a couple games here and there, but they have the pitching staff when they're healthy, and they have the team to make a College World Series run. They just got to click, and I think they're slowly starting to click. Now, they did have Jared Wagner, their best hitter, go down with a broken hand or broken finger, so that'll be interesting to see. But Jason, I don't know if you've kind of followed along outside of Penn State baseball.
Questions. No, because I'm a postseason college baseball fan. I will be full in a tournament. I love it.
Absolutely.
I'll be diving in. Hockey takes up too much of my time for the baseball. But here's my 2 questions to you two. Who's my team north of the Mason-Dixon line that's going to win me some money in the NCAA tournament? Give me my UConn, my Notre Dame. Who's my team for like this year? And also, who is my SEC team with a terrible record that's going to be a 3 seed and win the whole damn thing, like Ole Miss?
I don't know if the SEC has that. I don't know if college baseball has it because we've never seen these 6 incredible offenses. We've never seen that. I mean, they're just hitting whatever they want. If I had to guess, and I'll limit it, right? I think the team that can make a run in the SEC tournament is probably Kentucky and Georgia, because I think Georgia has the talent. They're just not putting it together. They have the staff. They're not playing well. They're walking a lot of guys. When they win, they have 4.5 walks or less. When they lose, it's 8-9. If they could just reel those in, I think they're a dangerous team. Do I think they're going to go to the College World Series? Absolutely not, because I think baseball right now, it's this top 6 teams I think are going to kind of run the gauntlet right now. A&M is also a sleepy team. They're very injured right now, but they're slowly starting to put it together. They were a preseason top 5 team, had some major injuries. They started the season horrendous. They've quietly beat they beat Auburn, and I forget who they played the week before, but they've won 2 series in a row, and I think they're starting to come back. So that's also a team. Maybe there's some value just to make the College World Series because we saw them. I mean, they have the talent. They made it last year. They're a good team. They've got a great manager in Schlossnagle from TCU. So put your money on A&M, Jason. It's worth $10.
He wants one up north.
You owe the Boston College.
I was going to say,
the Boston College Eagles an apology from earlier in a couple of shows ago.
I was going to say,
well, I think they're kind of.
Look, I see them. They're still good.
They're good.
But
they lost a bad series.
I went Louisville. They swept them, didn't they?
Yeah, and that was bad. I mean, Chris Flynn, their best guy, throws on Saturday or game 2.
I was down 8-0.
Yeah.
See, that's why the Yankees still have a chance. I was down 8-0 that game, and the Cardinals came back and won that against BC.
They just don't have, outside of Chris Flynn. I don't think they have the talent.
How
to
about
make a deep run. UConn's okay. They have the pitching. I just don't think they have the hitting. Any other team like Rutgers was supposed to be good. They're flaming out. I think Maryland's pitching's not where it needs to be.
I don't like that Maryland.
They had a good year last year, and I think teams kind of slept on them last year, but they're aware of them now. I guess it's north of the Mason-Dixon technically, but Iowa with Brody Brecht, I mean, maybe they can make sort of a run, but I just think outside of him, they don't have anybody else. I don't really see anybody in the Northeast. I mean, it's so hard. Nobody wants to play cold weather baseball. And it's not
I know
Penn
they
State.
don't.
You know who I don't understand, though, is to wrap it up, is Pitt. Pitt always makes a really good run in the ACC. They'll probably beat UNC if it seeds up that way in an ACC tournament down in Durham or Charlotte, wherever it is this year, and then make it to the semis, right? But then you look at that, like they did it last year. They beat a couple good teams. They beat a good Georgia Tech team last year. They made it pretty far in the ACC tournament. They're going to do it again this year, but they can't play consistent baseball.
I'll tell you that Georgia Tech team, because I've taken them. I hit the other night with them against Auburn. They had to come back, but man, that pitching staff seems like they give up a lot of runs.
That's all they do.
Too, man. Jeez,
they can hit, but they can't stop
they
anybody.
Can't stop high scoring games there, man. High scoring games.
I wish Pitt was more consistent at baseball, because I think the market's there. I think just there's loyal fans in Pittsburgh with the Pirates. I think they could jump on the bandwagon with Pittsburgh, but it's just not consistent enough, whether it's recruiting, whether it's coaching, I don't have an answer. I know they play really good postseason ball, but they just don't have the resume to make it, in the regionals and give themselves a chance. But if they could just figure out that one thing to just get them over that hump, I think they can make some noise. It's a program that has the ability, and I think they have the ability. So we'll see.
So the plays I gave out tonight, everybody, real quick, they're in. I gave out North Carolina minus 160. They're up 4-3. I did jump in with Q. I think Q played LSU just straight. I do have LSU with Texas A&M in a parlay. Trying to see if Texas A&M has started yet. I don't see that score right now. And then my later game, my best bet, I'm going to take Santa Clara against BYU tonight. Just if anybody needs that.
Good mid-major
Santa Clara
team.
They're 9-5 at home. BYU is 4-13 on the road. So, and I got that at minus 145. So if you need a little 9:30 action tonight and you're bored around the house, jump on Santa Clara. So let's see if that can come home.
I'm going to give you my series predictions. Me and Matt Grissom Tweets. We do College Baseball Insiders. We're trying to grow the brand. We give great knowledge. I think we're going to try to bring Smitty on here in a week or two, get his knowledge on there. But we always do a series breakdown, and we pick like 10 series. So I took UNC to win the series against Miami. So if you're betting, kind of lean towards UNC there, as well as with any team that I name here. LSU, I think, is going to sweep Kentucky. I think they're playing pretty pissed off baseball after that South Carolina wake-up call. I took Wake Forest here, but I think this is a gut thing. Like, you look at Wake Forest's schedule, I think they're going to lose a series, and I think this might be the one where they're on the road. Louisville just swept Boston College, so they have some confidence. I think that could be a series where they lose the series 2-1. I wouldn't be surprised if Wake Forest wins, but it is one of those where it wasn't an automatic play like it has been this year, because it's just too hard to win every single series in college baseball. Tennessee couldn't do it last year. I just don't think anybody's going to do it this year. So take Wake Forest with caution. I like Coastal Carolina to beat ODU. I think Coastal Carolina's schedule has been way tougher. They've passed the test. They've played really good baseball against some of the top teams in the country. I like Vanderbilt. You said the pitching staff's putting it together. I think South Carolina comes down a notch after an emotional series last week with LSU. So I think Vanderbilt wins that 2-1. I'm not going to fade Arkansas until they actually lose the series. I think Tennessee's down this year. Chase Dollinger's not even pitching Friday night. They're going with a transfer from Charlotte, and then you're going to have Chase Burns Saturday, Dollinger Saturday. It sounds like Chase Burns, they're going to give him the week off, who was their number one last year. He's struggling. And then Drew Beam is going to close that on Sunday. But I think Arkansas has the advantage there at home. I like Oregon. I think it's a fade against the Pac-12 in the sense of I think Stanford's not as good as maybe their number 8 ranking. And then Oregon State's playing some good baseball. They lost a lot of talent last year just with graduation and a couple draft picks, but they're starting to find it again. And Corvallis, man, it seems like the college baseball playoffs always run through Corvallis, and they're ramping up to get it again.
Yeah, I like Oregon. I like Oregon State. I like both. I would say I like Oregon State and then Oregon. I like both the Oregon teams.
And then obviously I think Florida against Georgia. But those are, when you're betting, just take a look at those series. And it's kind of hard to find info. You got to find it on Twitter, but you can catch some good value in college baseball. Smitty and I are definitely up units. We're doing really well, so it's raising the bankroll, as we always say.
Yep. Sure.
I got nothing else. Jason, do you have anything else?
I do not. I'm ingesting all that baseball that just came at me and building up ready for the postseason here in a month.
If you have any questions, please hit us up on Notebook Wager and hit me at Q Millie and then hit Smitty Bucks. Jason, if you have any questions, you can text us. I'll be sure to get back to you and in a timely manner. But yeah, we've got at Notebook Wagering college baseball plays, at Q Millie college baseball plays, at College Baseball Insiders baseball plays. And then I know Matt will throw some in the playoffs, and then I'm sure you'll dabble in with some advice from us. So we're getting into some time, man.
Sharp Angle Syndicate.
Sharp Angle Syndicate, yeah, best bets.
My best bets again. Not tonight. Was not my night. You move on, and 9-5. We're gonna get ready for tomorrow. 11-1. I don't think it's gonna happen, but 9-5. Best bets on Sharp Angle Syndicate. So check me out on that. I'm doing really well. Coming off a fantastic college basketball season.
All right, that's all I got. Next week we'll touch on NBA playoffs. We kind of ran out of time. But they're Celtics, good team. So we'll cover that next week, Jason. We've got a couple of play-ins that I think the last play-in's tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Tomorrow night. So we have some time. Series will start next week, so that'll play perfectly for us.
And we got to get Jason to start giving out some hockey. And
Jason give hockey plays.
I can look at that with a neutral eye since I have no rooting interest.
A sharp neutral and a sharp eye. So, all right, as we always say, and when we close out the show, bang your bookies.